Hi, I'm Elaina.
And I'm Sara. Today's big idea might seem very basic, but if you really get it, it can help carry you through hard situations and strengthen you when you need it the most.
Absolutely. Today's big idea is we can always go to God. Sara, would you mind sharing with us a difficult situation that you could take to God?
Yeah, I remember when I was in school and I started to feel really stressed, I started to fall behind. But when I took it to God, He gave me the peace and grace to get through it.
I think we can all relate to that school stress. That's why it's so important that we share everything with God. Let's take a look at today's God story to see what we can learn from that.
That first covenant between God and Israel had regulations for worship. Hey guys, my name's Ryan and I'm excited to be back with you guys again. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today. My mom used to have this chest in our house when I was growing up. She actually still has it and it was enormous and it had like carvings on the outside of it and it came from Africa where my mom's family lived for years. And this chest always existed in our house. Me and my friends used to sit on it. We used to lie down on it. We used to pull it up to the table and use it as an extra chair at the dinner table. And I never really understood what it was for other than an extra chair at the dinner table. Until one day my mom sat me down and my two brothers and actually explained that this chest is something that every mother has passed on to her daughter for so many generations. And inside the chest there are some relics, writings, letters, things from her family that are so important and valuable. Well, this completely changed how I saw this chest. I didn't want to sit on it anymore because I recognized the significance that it had for our family. And this actually leads me really well to what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to talk about the Israelite people, and they actually had something that God had given them that they actually didn't fully realize until He revealed it to them, the importance and the beauty of what it was. And so when we get into our God story today, our big idea is going to be that we can always go to God. I don't know if you remember, but God had Moses and the people build a tent. It wasn't just any ordinary tent. This was the holy tent where God would come and meet with the people. And this is what was inside that tent. A special container called the ark, not the boat kind of ark, but actually something that reminds me of the chest that my mom has. But it was actually something that kept the tablets that had the 10 Commandments on them inside this ark. There was also a table for special bread. There was a gold lampstand, an altar for offerings to God, a large bowl for washing, and a few other things. We're going to hear about what those things were for in a minute. And after that, we're actually going to see that the priests that would serve in the holy tent actually had special clothing to wear. There was a linen apron, a chest cloth, robes, caps, a belt, and a sort of crown to go on the hat that had the words engraved, "Set apart for the Lord." The Israelites followed all of the commandments that God had instructed them to. And let's be real, there were a lot of instructions. We're now going to jump from Exodus, which is the second book in the Old Testament, to a book called Hebrews, which is one of the last books in the New Testament. And that's about 1,500 years from Exodus to Hebrews. But the cool thing is we're going to understand why this holy tent has such significance for these people. Similarly to the significance I discovered in the family chest that was at my mom's house. Hebrews 9 starts like this as it talks about the things that Moses had the people build for God. That first covenant between God and Israel had regulations for worship and a place of worship here on earth. There were 2 rooms in that tabernacle. In the first room were a lampstand, a table, and sacred loaves of bread on the table. This room was called the holy place. Then there was a curtain, and behind the curtain was the second room called the most holy place. In that room were a gold incense altar and a wooden chest called the Ark of the Covenant, which was covered with gold on all sides. Inside the ark were a gold jar containing manna, Aaron's staff that sprouted leaves, and the stone tablets of the covenant. Above the ark were the cherubim of divine glory, whose wings stretched out over the ark's cover, the place of atonement. But we cannot explain these things in detail now. When these things were all in place, the priests regularly entered the first room as they performed their religious duties. But only the high priest ever entered the most holy place, and only once a year. And he always offered blood for his own sins and for the sins the people had committed in ignorance. Okay, so this is what's happening here. This first covenant is similar to us riding a bike with wheels when we're learning to ride. It gives us a bit of support and stability, and it actually provides us a way to do things. But when we take the wheels off and we're riding that bike freely, that's actually what the new covenant is with Jesus. Jesus actually takes the place of the high priest who would once a year offer this sacrifice for our sins, because Jesus actually takes all of our sin onto the cross. And when he dies and rises again, we're actually free from a life of sin. This is very good news. And as for the Israelite people, they had limited time and space with God. Our big idea today says that we can always go to God because of what Jesus has done. And that set us free from the consequences of a life of sin. So why do we learn about this stuff from the Old Testament in books like Exodus? Well, it's because we can actually see that God had a plan for us. And in the same way that somebody would bring forward a sacrifice, we can now understand that Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice to us, and we can always go to God. So if you're ever wanting to talk to him about a decision, if you're ever wanting to seek comfort in God, we can always go to him and bring everything we have to him. I hope this encourages you guys as much as this encourages me today. I can't wait to see you again.
We heard about the holy room, the most holy room, and all kinds of stuff. But the one thing to remember is that we're part of a new covenant, and through Jesus, we have direct access to God.
Exactly, yeah. We can go to God to discuss our problems and questions the way we would discuss with parents or leaders or friends. God always listens and he gives the best advice.
Our friend MJ went through a lot of ups and downs in his life. Let's watch his story to see where he found help.
So I love running. I've been running my whole life. Not always physically running. Sometimes I've been running away from things, and sometimes I've been running to things. I grew up in a very happy, supportive, and loving family. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister. Growing up, I looked up to my brothers a lot. I wanted to be just like them. My 2 brothers are both naturally athletic and they excel in sports. For me growing up, I wasn't as naturally coordinated or skilled when it came to sports, and I quickly became discouraged when I engaged with any sort of athletic activity because I felt like I wasn't good enough. And so that, in combination with being teased for being heavier and being overweight, brought up a whole bunch of different emotions. Emotions that often pushed me towards food and eating unhealthy food, comfort food, really. When I was 15, I made the very conscious and willful decision to lose weight and become fit, all because I didn't feel that I was enough because I wasn't those things. And so I made that very conscious decision, and I started working out every day, and I started a new very strict diet, and I lost weight very quickly. That may sound good because I was exercising and I was eating healthy, but it was unhealthy for me because it was all motivated by I gotta be enough, I gotta be worth it, I gotta be valuable. And I was running to these things to try and find my worth. So for my 16th birthday, my mom made me a cake to celebrate my birthday. And what was supposed to be a pretty joyful, exciting celebration turned out to be a pretty awkward and painful celebration for both me and my family. I rejected the cake that my mom made me because I feared returning to the chubby kid who wasn't good at sports. And that really upset my family because they were there to celebrate my birthday. And as I sat at that table, looking at everybody enjoying the piece of cake, I think I realized in that moment that I'm not really participating in the joyful life that God came to give me. And so I think that seemingly small event sent me on the trajectory and towards finding my value and my worth in who God says I am. So on October 6th, the day after this event, I remember making the conscious decision saying to God, God, I really want to run after you. If you are truly who you say you are and you do love me the way you say you do, then I want to run after that kind of God. And though my issues that day weren't all gone, it did feel a little bit lighter knowing that I was with God. So the following year was pretty difficult. I had to unlearn a lot of things. I had to unlearn what it meant to find my value and my worth in my image, in how well I performed in sports. And for me, this meant stop going to the gym and forcing myself to sit down with my family and enjoy meals with one another, to learn what it meant to enjoy food again. So life now, where I'm trying to put my value and my identity and my worth in who God says I am, is pretty different. I'm no longer turning to exercise or to food or to those things to try and attain that, but rather I live now and enjoy life now knowing that I have access to that. So now I try and live my life with Jesus as my first and top pursuit. And it's cool because I've realized that God is already running towards us. And each time I'm willing to run towards Him, I'm left feeling more loved, accepted, and valued.
It was so great to see MJ at the table with his friends, sharing a nice meal with lots of fun and laughter.
Yeah, it looked like a fresh start. And the way that they were breaking bread and having juice reminded me of communion, celebrating what Jesus did for us.
Yeah, MJ turned to God, and because of that, he found his identity in who God says he is, and that's amazing.
I love it. Let's break into our small groups and see what this would look like in our own lives.